And actually that's one of the, when I actually researched you.
Okay.
And I watched a couple of your interviews, and I think you were speaking with Evan Smith, and he was talking about some of the work that you had done on the city council about empowering people of I'm a person of color.
Yeah.
And I liked what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Now, I'm a small business person.
Yes.
And I'm moderate.
Yeah.
Explain to me what is it? Pro-growth progressive means.
Yeah,
Because
I mean,
now, I have a master's. I don't know what that means.
yeah. So when I think about growth, I'm talking about growing the pie. So my goal is to see as many people as possible thrive.
Okay.
Okay. Economic opportunity. So two major issues that I want to focus on. I focus on a bunch of issues,
Yes.
but healthcare access
Okay.
and economic opportunity for all.
Okay.
What I want to see is that we have a vision for today's economy and tomorrow's economy
Okay.
that is inclusive. So we're bringing people into that vision. We're not saying to people, oh, well, that's an industry of the past. Too bad for you.
Yes.
I hope you figured something else out.
Okay.
When we think about things like automation, we need to have answers. Well, how do we get people upwardly mobile? How do we get them trained with skills that they need? That's also in concert with something they actually want to do.
Right.
I mean, you've got to
Absolutely.
kind of align, meet people where they are, but get them what they need in order for them to be successful. That piece of it. But I also see the opportunity, job creation, business ownership, all of those things are exciting to me.
So that also means working with business, not only helping
alongside,
individuals,
partnering.
Like you were talking about, I think you was talking about access to capital. You're talking about minority training, I think. But can you talk a little bit more about how, like, say I'm a small business. Actually, I run a medical practice, so we're going to talk about healthcare in a bit.
Sure.
How are you going to work with people like me or small business people and make sure, because it seems like the Republicans are trying to paint Democrats as socialists.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I believe that we have to create opportunity where opportunities exist. So I'm going to use a statistic.
Okay.
Minority business owners are 3 times less likely to gain access to traditional forms of capital, like a bank loan, than their non-minority counterparts. So guess what that means? You have to hear the word no 3 more times than the next person in order for you to get to that same space in terms of having a bank loan. So how many businesses will that mean will say, oh, on the second try, on the first try, oh, I got rejected by the bank. I guess I need to find something else to do.
On a detailed,
yes.
You know, I go to the bank, I'm going to probably get turned down because I'm a person of color. So what are you going to do?
One of the things that I have done in Houston is start a task force to address this issue, which is about disparity in capital. And so we have created a task force to identify strategic activities that can be done to help businesses, minority businesses, become more prepared, but also you want to create incentives for people to have lending take place. And so CDFIs, these are entities, so these are entities that loan at higher rates to minority-owned businesses.
It's bad?
It's good. It's
higher rates?
No, at higher, higher percentages.
Oh,
not higher rates of interest. They're just more likely to extend bank loans or
I'm used to
loans.
that.
No. It's about extending the number of bank loans. So the percentages of bank loans they extend to minority business owners are higher than other entities. So getting more resources into those, but also looking at ways to also incentivize traditional banking institutions to also do additional lending to minority businesses that they otherwise may deem as high risk.
Right.
These are ways that you loosen up capital and you begin to stimulate communities. Small business ownership is the heart of our communities. And so when business owners can't get the capital they need, they won't actually be able to stay in business.
Can that be scaled up at the federal level?
Yes, and so you want to be able to see programs in place at every level. Locally, you can have programs in place. Federally, we could be incentivizing, utilizing better our small business administration, but also incentivizing large banking institutions to consider those high risk loans, or what they might otherwise consider high risk, to be high priority by what you're doing with the monies that you have access to, whether you put your cash deposits in certain banking institutions. There are a lot of things that can be done to stimulate the flow of capital. And so I get really excited when I talk about those things because it's about opening up opportunity to more people. That's what you want to do. And when you do that, it helps everybody. It's not just helping. Some people say, well, why are you just doing it for this community or that community? When you have self-sustaining communities, then you have more economic viability, more people paying into the tax structure. Everything becomes healthier when you have an ability to sustain yourself in your community.
Now, you seem like I can tell you're very smart, and I'm going to guess that you sat toward the front of the class. Is that true or not true?
It depends on if I was talking or not.
And I'm sure you raise your hand a lot, right or wrong?
I raised my hand. I would not say I was a gunner, because in law school you call it a gunner.
Okay.
So I was not a gunner.
You're telling me I was right.
I raised my hand as appropriate.
Okay. But
yes.
Unintended consequences. You were talking about the access to capital and some of the programs that you're thinking about, especially to help businesses. Can you think of any unintended consequences that might be something that I haven't thought about that could potentially not be a good thing?
Yeah, I mean, you obviously have to do this in moderation in terms of, like, you don't want to have a situation where, let's take the mortgage bust, right?
Okay.
When there was lots of folks that were getting in over their heads. You don't want to have a scenario like that, but that just comes, it was out of control in terms of the ways in which the parameters were being set or not set. And I think in this regard, you want to be, have a viewpoint that is moderate in nature. You're not going overboard, but at the same time, you want to incentivize change. And so you've just got to balance that out. But I think that's all things. You just have to strike the appropriate balance and be thinking about it. But that comes with being a good policymaker. So that's the nice part of this, is I'm not new to policymaking. Right. I've been in this space where you have to think about what's intended, what's not intended. And if you're not thinking about that when you're promulgating policy, you're doing something very wrong and should not necessarily be promulgating policy if you can't think it all the way through. And I think about that from every element, whether you're talking about criminal justice, whether you're talking about economic opportunity, whether you're talking about healthcare access. All of the things have to also have, what are the consequences, what are the pros, what are the cons, what's the right balance, because everything you're going to do will have some pros and will have some cons, but you got to strike the right balance.